What's going on, guys? Thank you for joining the Tully broadcast. So in today's video, we're going to obviously go over the New York Giants first round pick of the 2021. Now, a lot of fans, including me, are a little confused by this pick. We went with Kadarius Toney. So I apologize if I said that wrong. But, one thing that I will say that we got is we did get the Bears 2022 first round pick for next year, and we got a couple other little picks. I believe we got a fifth round pick this year, which is good for us. We needed another pick in the later rounds, and we also got a fourth round pick for next year as well. So that's a pretty good win as well. So if I had to rank this pick, I would probably go somewhere in the range of like a C to like a B minus at the highest. Just because the B minus, just because we get the picks for next year, but a C just at the value that I think Toney was. I didn't see him going first round, and I did not see him really going in 20. If I saw him going first round, it was like late first round. I had him mocked, I think, to like the Packers or something along those lines, like a late first round pick, not 20 where we were. I was pretty surprised. Now, I liked wide receiver. Like, I wouldn't have mind if we went wide receiver. I just thought there's a couple guys on the board that were probably better than him. As far as, Bateman's probably better. Moore is probably better. There's a couple guys that I like more than him at wide receiver. But the one thing that Toney does bring to this offense is separation speed. The kid is extremely fast. I don't really have his 40 time up with me right now, but he's an extremely fast player, can create a ton of separation. They call him like a joystick almost. He's a big-time player in that regard, but just the fact that I'm not really sure where the Giants thought on this one, to be totally honest with you. He has good numbers. He's got almost 3,000 yards in his college career with 47 touchdowns. He rushes for like 900 yards. He could be a good special teams guy too. I know Joe Judge loves that. But at the end of the day, I thought it was a little bit of an interesting pick. But I'm going to support the kid. I hope the kid's good. I hope he proves me wrong. One thing I will point out, though, is that he's like 5'11"-ish. On Wikipedia, they have him at 6 foot. But his normal height, too, they have him listed at 5'11". So he's somewhere between 5'11" and 6 feet. And he weighs 194 pounds. And if you really put that in perspective of like who the Eagles took, which now I have to hate that kid, even though I did like him, at Devontae Smith, He's around the same height at like 6 foot, 166 pounds. So like, Kadarius Toney is almost 30 pounds bigger than Devontae Smith, which is kind of crazy when you think about it, of how skinny and how small Devontae Smith is. So for the Giants now, you can't get mad at this first pick. You got to see what they do with the next pick. I think it's a little bit of a suspect pick. I don't hate it, and I don't necessarily love it. I know there's a couple weird off-the-field issues that some people are not a big fan of. I know, some of the older Giant fans are not a big... I was talking to my dad about this. He's not a big fan of, like, the whole gangster rapping thing. I can kind of see that, too, a little bit, because it does bring some baggage. Some of that, his friends and stuff like that. I saw a video of him, like, throwing up, like, gang signs. Like, I'm not a huge fan of my first-round pick throwing up gang signs in a video. So there's that. Also, apparently, he got, like, in 2018, he got in trouble with... I think he had, like, a fake... He had like a fake BB gun rifle that was like painted to look like a real gun. So that's just stupid. I mean, that's just kids being dumb. I mean, I'm not that upset about that. It's just dumb. Again, and Florida too. A lot of Florida colleges like FSU and the University of Florida, they usually do have a bad reputation of having the quote unquote felons. And if you remember the FSU versus the Notre Dame, it was the Catholics versus the felons or whatever. So there's some baggage here. I'm not a huge fan. I don't hate the pick, but at the end of the day, I will take it. I hope this kid's good. It does bring an edge. It does bring something to our offense that we do not have, which is a speed kind of guy, a guy that can create separation. And it gives another weapon. It just gives another weapon to Daniel Jones and gives more pressure to Daniel Jones that you need to perform. Another thing that it does too is it opens up the possibility, and honestly, I probably think it's kind of sealed the deal, that we're probably going to cut Sterling Shepard next year, especially if he gets hurt this year, which he's pretty much gotten hurt every year. And we're probably going to cut him. And then what that does now is that saves us $10 million for the 2022 cap. And that's great because then we can sign a guy like Jabril Peppers or et cetera. We can do something great with that pick. I know some fans wanted to go offensive tackle or maybe even defensive end. And defensive end I would not have been opposed to. especially because of the fact that we traded down to 20, and I feel like that was a better range to take a defensive end, especially a guy like Kwity Paye, who's more of like an edge rusher, defensive end type. So I wouldn't have been upset with that, especially at the value that we were at with 20. I thought that would have been good value, but we didn't do that. We did Kadarius Toney. Again, I'm hearing good and bad. Good and bad, and that's kind of how I feel. I feel like there's good and I feel like there's bad. I'm interested to see what this kid does. And also, too, like, I mean, the second round, do not think it's like an end. The second round has definitely opened us up to taking a guy, I would assume we're going to take an offensive tackle. A guy like Tevin Jenkins is still there. Although, thinking about it now, the Bengals probably still need an offensive tackle, and I would not be surprised. I believe the Bengals are ahead of us. I would not be surprised if the Bengals go offensive tackle and take that Tevin Jenkins guy. Another player that I'm extremely interested in is Creed Humphrey. He's a good center out of I believe Oklahoma. Yeah, Oklahoma. He's a really good center out of there. He kind of fell out of the first round. People have him going first round. He's a good player. I wouldn't mind that. You may say, Pat, I thought you loved Nick Gates. I do love Nick Gates. But the thing with Nick Gates is what we can do is he was originally a guard, and he was a pretty good guard at that too. So that kind of seals that problem. We can move him back to guard and move this Creed Humphrey kid to center, and he could be our new center. And I would be pretty excited about that because then we'd only have to deal with the whatever guard, I would assume maybe right guard. They'd probably put Nick Gates at left guard. You have to deal with the right guard position, and that could be just competition between Shane Lemieux and Will Hernandez, and you're going to get the best player in that. Another play that kind of fell in the first round, and I'm actually shocked about completely, because I really thought he was going to go to the Raiders, was Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah or something like that. They call him JOK for short. I like that kid a lot. I think he'd be a really versatile player. I would love that pick for us if we take him. I think it adds another linebacker, and it adds a versatile piece to Patrick Graham for him to do whatever he wants. He's pretty small as far as linebackers go, but the reason is because he's he can play safety too, almost like maybe like a Jabril 2.0 in a way, because that was sort of Jabril's thing, was he could play linebacker, but he's also like small enough to play safety and fast enough to play safety. So it'd be a lot of fun, especially adding a piece to Pat Graham's defense, so that kid can just figure out what he can do, and you can add another weapon to that guy's defense, and I'm excited to see where that goes. But yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm going to be grading the Giants' overall draft after the draft, which is going to be on Saturday. So I will be grading that overall. I also will be doing a video with my cousin later, maybe today later, talking about just the overall draft in general and just grading each pick and seeing like how each pick was. I definitely want to do that. There were a couple suspect picks, and there were a couple picks that were good, that I liked. That obviously were in the Giants. Again, if I give my overall opinion on what the Giants did, I would probably say it's like a C to a C plus, maybe a B minus if you want to factor in the fact that we get a first round pick, which will probably be a top 10 pick because the Bears kind of suck. So yeah, that's kind of the video, guys, and I hope you enjoy, and let's see what the Giants do tonight at 7 o'clock. Stay tuned.